Hey up guys, it's man, back at it again for a brand new video. This time, it's another review of the Pokemon Horizons anime. And all I gotta say is, this week, yet again, another good episode. But let's get right into that review. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Alright, so this episode basically begins with the Hatterene lost in a storm running around when it enters a shack. This is basically just set up for later on and not really that important. But I gotta say, Hatterene is so cute. Like, I like Watchroll better at this moment, and it's definitely the weaker of any main mon of the series. But I think it's cute. But yeah. Then it cuts to basically Liko thinking back to what Kabu said about her, about her path as a trainer, like Kabu said in the previous episode. That's when she then talks to Anne. Yet again, we see Anne. I love that Anne's coming back. I hope we see her in person eventually. But Anne reveals that she's actually caught her first Pokemon, a Sandshrew, which I think it's really cool. And yeah, fun to see Anne again, and I think it's yet again interesting that we're getting jammed in the face. Oh, another character that started around Liko and has a second Pokemon. I wonder if she's gonna get one. Yes, she is. I can't wait for more blatant foreshadowing when it comes time for Dot to catch her first Pokemon. Like, seriously, they really, kind of, hit us over the head with Liko, who should be catching something soon over the last couple episodes. But yeah, it's time for Liko, Roy, and Free to head to the Galar Mines. But they get caught up in a storm themselves and eventually wind up in the same shack Hatterene did, and that's when Liko finds Hatterene all injured, so she decides to take it back to Molly in order to take care of it. This is where the meat and potatoes of this episode comes in, where Molly actually diagnoses Hatina. I think I've been saying Hatterene. I have no clue, and I don't feel like going back to check if I did at this point when recording. So let's just say if I did or did not. But checks on Hatina, and it mentions she has emotional damage, and also we see that it's very shy around Pokemon and people, and gets startled very easy when others show emotion, which makes sense seeing as its abilities basically do that. And we see this when earlier in the episode, when the storm hits, it gets scared, and all the Pokemon around it probably got scared as well. So that's what put it to be sick when Liko found it. And actually, a really cool detail I like is that when Liko was being all kind and had positive energy towards her, that is when Hatina smiled before the end of the episode when they became friends. But yeah. After this, Hatina just runs around the ship feeling people's emotions and getting nervous. Like, there's a point where Murdoch and Orla have a bickering match, which I think is kind of funny, where Murdoch, insults the ship as a joke, and she gets all offended. And they start arguing, and then Hatina hears this, gets all scared, and it probably feels the anger coming off them and runs away. That's when Dot walks in, so they decide to make up because Murdoch don't want to see Dot, or have Dot see him in that scenario, which I thought it was funny. But this is really the only part of the episode I didn't really like, because compared to Roy and Watchroll's capture, Roy spent most of the episode with Watchroll and the previous episode with Watchroll compared to here, where Liko, realistically, once Hatina's on the ship and gets checked out by Molly, we don't really see them interact until it's basically time for her to catch her again, which right before it. So yeah, this the only aspect of this episode I didn't really enjoy that much. But speaking while I'm on the ship, I almost forgot. I loved the scene when Liko went to go ask Dot for help and even introduce her to Hatina. And this is when Hatina actually runs away from Liko, because Liko decides to bring Dot her Needlefin costume, which is being cleaned, and show her Hatina and have a talk about Hatina and all that stuff. That's when Hatina runs away. And again, I love Liko and Dot's friendship. It's so cute and pure, and they're just besties. But this basically leads to Liko, Roy, and Dot searching the ship for Hatina as she runs around scared, like I mentioned previously. And this basically leads into Liko's main development of this episode, her realizing what kind of trainer she wants to be. We get a scene of Liko actually worried about Hatina and is scared or feels bad for it, and basically relates to what it goes through, because she noticed Hatina's like fearfulness and running around is similar to how she was more shy when she first started off as a trainer, but because she was able to make friends and join the Rising Volt Tacklers, she was able to grow. And I love that parallel. Like, that parallel is incredible. Hatina and Liko were made for each other. As much as I wanted her to get a Tinkaton, I just think the idea that us more meek and timid Hatina and Liko growing closer to it and eventually catching it at the end of the episode, because let's just cut right to the end of the episode, because this is more of a dialogue episode than an action one. And it's more of have more to discuss about the ending than the rest, because like I said before, I think it's mostly more filler and made until this part. When Liko decides to let it go, but Sprigatito wants it to stay so they can all be friends. And then Liko catches it and realizes what kind of trainer she wants to be. One to understand Pokemon's feelings and emotions and help them overcome these problems they may have, similar to how she did with the Volt Tacklers. And even this episode helped Hatina become less shy by opening up to how she feels she's actually interested in Hatina and felt bad for it in that scene, which was a really good scene. And I liked the scene where I like that Hatina got to hear this, and this is what led to her being more friendly with Liko and even just growing out of the shyness, the interest Liko had towards it and the relation they had. But yeah, Liko catches it. That's really it. She realizes what kind of trainer she is. Good development for Liko. I just wish we got more of her and Hatina together. Like, a lot of the episode, they were just looking for it. And I'm finally happy to see Liko potentially no longer be timid and more of a less outgoing character compared to Roy, because I last episode even pointed out directly in the plot, she's been taking a back seat, and I kind of wanted to take focus again. As much as I like Roy, but Liko has been getting shafted too much. I can't wait to see her get more, and even next episode, which I'm curious if she will use Hatenna next episode, but it is going to be a battle between the explorers who arrive at the end of this episode, and I'm pretty sure, I forgot if this was in the preview or not, or it was the actual episode, and Mifio mentions that the Brave Asagi is here in Galar, so they're going to run into the Volt Tacklers and defend it again. I don't know if that was in the preview or this episode, I genuinely forgot, but yeah. But overall, I think this is a really good episode, and it accommodates basically the arc Liko has been going on this entire series, and the questions and the ideas that Kabu brought up to her last episode with the training. And I just hope we see Liko learn from this and grow more as a person and a trainer and catch more Pokemon. And I hope we see Hatenna more, because another thing I recently noticed is Wattrel has just been disappeared, even though a majority of the episodes have been on the ship. Even if they don't want Wattrel to be front and center, I feel like they can just put Wattrel in the background. Like, there were easily a bunch of scenes that Wattrel could have just been in the background or just happened to be outside of its Pokeball while they're on the ship. But yeah, I give this episode a 7.5 out of 10. All the Liko stuff was really good, and the Explorer stuff was hype, but a lot of the episode was just Hatina running around, which I like Hatina. I can't wait to see more. And especially, I forgot to mention this, Hatina has its own little gimmick of how it hangs around Liko, where it goes in her hoodie, similar to how Ash's Rowlet went inside the backpack. I hope this continues, because I really think it's cute. I like the idea that Sprigatito walks alongside her while Hatina gets a ride on her back, near her head, potentially even going on her head sometimes like a hat. But yeah, good episode. Can't wait for next week. Can't wait to see more of Hatina. Yeah. If you guys like this video and subscribe for more content like this in the future, S-Man signing off.